Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today's video is street photography indirectly. On my scheduled usual day for doing street photography, I had a client project, so was not able to get out and do some new photos. So instead, what I thought I would do is do a little bit of a behind the story, the thoughts and lessons learned about some of the recent photos I've shared on this channel this first part of the year 2024. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to dive into some of my photos from recent times, and I'll let you take a look at those and listen, and I'll be back at the end for a wrap up. Okay, so let's jump into these photos. We've got about 8 of them to share with you, and we'll talk about some of the lessons learned over this little bit of time since I made these photos and some of the stories behind the photos. So we'll start with this photo, which is of a sculpture in downtown Bellevue. It's been open for about 6 months. It's called Peloti, P-E-L-O-T-I. And it's near Downtown Park in Bellevue, as I mentioned, and it's got some view of the high rises nearby. So my story behind this photo is I was in this set of photos, I was working on concentrating on perspective, finding interesting perspectives in photos. So I was using the 10 to 24 at 10 millimeters to get a wide angle, interesting look at the photo and the scene, and try to compose it in an interesting way. So one of the things I wanted to do in this photo was juxtapose and contrast the organic elements in this sculpture, which is very round. It kind of looks like a piece of nature almost, with the very linear and geometric high rise to the left. So, and then the clouds kind of helped out with adding some other natural soft elements to the photo. And then in hindsight, lesson learned from this photo, I think in the 6 months this has been open, I've made most of the obvious and kind of easy photos of the sculpture. So now the challenge is, because it's really photogenic, is to find the not so obvious photos, find the not so easy photos. So I'm going to keep working this. This is, I think, a good example of there's always another photo to make in a given place. You haven't discovered them all. One of the things I want to do is come at night. I know there's some lights in the ground underneath this sculpture that would be interesting, I believe, at night, and also different times of days and seasons. Use some different lenses, find all the things. So we'll keep working this, but that's the thoughts on this photo. So photo number 2 here was taken while I was eating lunch. This is in a restaurant. I was in the bar area because that's what they had open at the time. And shiny surface of the bar. So I'm eating lunch, I'm done with lunch, and I noticed the surface of the bar creates a nice mirror, and there was really no one else in the restaurant at the time, or they were off to my left. I noticed people walking by, and I'm like, ooh, that could make a good photo. And I got my camera out and made a few photos just observing people. And I really liked the symmetry here, the literal mirror here as well, with 2 people walking in opposite directions. I got a little lucky in catching their hands in kind of mirror mode too, and somewhat their expressions and look. So it's a good example of always be paying attention. When students ask me, how many photos should we make for an assignment? I always say jokingly, 1 more. And I think this is a good example of there's always 1 more photo almost any place you go. And I hope you keep looking for them. Next photo is from earlier in the year. This was on a black and white video set of photos, and also with the 16 to 80 millimeter. This is a worker in one of the Chinese restaurants in Bellevue Square, and she's making some lunch here. The lesson learned, thought behind this photo is I wanted to be respectful of, and I try to do this in all my street photos if I include people, is be very respectful of them and not disturb them and make them feel uncomfortable or make me uncomfortable. So it was a pretty quick photo. I'm kind of walking and making the photo here. I do like, and I think it was a happy accident, there's a bit of a reflection of a bright spot in the glass I'm looking through. It kind of covers her face a little bit or obscures her face a little bit, kind of adds to, again, respecting someone's privacy, still having a human element in the photo, but making it a little less specific. So another one from the same day of photos. This one, I've walked by this space. This is another example of there's always one more photo. I've walked by this space. It's some new buildings, newish. They're a couple years old, but they've recently opened fully and returned to work. And I believe it's Facebook folks in this building. So lots of high-tech stuff. On the left-hand side of this photo, what you're seeing there in the shelving, there's snacks. There's like chips and things like that. And I didn't want that to be very obvious in the photo. So the star of this photo is that light at the end of the hallway, which on the right of the photo is elevators. So this person is walking to the elevators. I underexposed intentionally when I was making the photo to, again, create a silhouette, hide the stuff on the left, hide the distractions, and really be about the person walking. Got another mirror with that shiny floor. So, and then in Lightroom, increase the highlights and whites to bring out that background a little bit more, and darken the blacks again to really increase the contrast and make this all about the silhouette. And we'll include one nature photo in this set, photo number 5 here with the 70-300 at 300 millimeters. I was in Marymore Park for this on what was supposed to be a sunny morning, but it was mostly cloudy. So I had to adjust my expectations. That's a good lesson learned when you go out to make photos. You never know when you're in a non-studio setting what the environment's going to be. So for this, saw some birds flying around, these Canada geese, and I was wanted to practice a couple things with this photo. Wanted to practice my birds in flight technique, both for the technical side of settings in the camera, as well as panning technique. And if you'll notice the shutter speed at 1/125th of a second, that's too slow. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, lesson learned. A sequence of photos in this set, and I really like this one. The birds with the one wing down and the other with the wings up, that was just a neat, not accident, but because you're making a whole sequence of photos, you're going to get moments like this. So lesson learned is I got a little bit to learn on technique for doing this type of photography, and the only way to get there is to do more of that. So stay tuned for that in the future. But I really like this photo quite a bit. It's an unexpected gift when they lined up like that. Photo number 6, also with the 70-300 at 300 millimeters, downtown Bellevue. There's a number of skyways, pedestrian skyways where people can walk between buildings. And again, I wanted a person in this photo. I underexposed intentionally. It was another cloudy day, surprise. And so that helped quite a bit to make it really easy to underexpose, turn the person into a silhouette, so it becomes less specific, which is something I like to do in my photos. I know when I look at photos and they're more symbolic and less specific, I tend to get more interested in them because I can bring more of myself to them. I bring my story to the photo because the story isn't done when it's representational rather than specific. So that's my theory on this. Toned it a little bit to the blues in Lightroom, just because I like it. I just think it looks kind of neat and it fit the day. This gentleman's gesture, I liked his hat. So yeah, caught my eye. A couple photos to get this one, tried to line them up in the gap in that kind of triangle opening, and mission accomplished. Photo number 7 with the 16-80. These folks, I don't know if you can see it on near the left middle side of the photo, there's 3 window washers on this high rise. And I had noticed them earlier, and I have some photos of them from below. I have some zoomed in photos at 300 millimeters of them up close. But I wanted to give a sense of how high up they were. So in walking farther east, got this view, and I really liked how the clouds cooperated. Again, underexposed, making it silhouettes, making it about just the shapes, and kind of create some mystery and drama, maybe a little tension with the exposure, and then finishing that in Lightroom. So for me, I really enjoy washing window washers because they amaze me. It's the job I could not do at all. I don't like heights or hanging from things. So I find it fascinating, and I tend to do the 300 millimeter photos up close. So this is an example of, okay, I found the easy photo. Let's keep walking and find another photo that takes a little different look at the same subject I photographed a whole bunch. Photo number 8 is another cloudy day. You can tell all these photos are from early part of the year in winter and maybe just a little bit early spring. So we have the bare tree architecture. Again, juxtaposed nature, organic architecture with human-made architecture that's very linear. So that was my goal with this photo. I like the chaos of the trees and how they seem to be reaching out to grab the buildings in a way or embrace the buildings. So I really enjoy this type of look. This photo and the very first photo I showed in this series with the juxtaposition of organic feeling things and human feeling things is something I like to do a lot in street photography, just because it's something I enjoy watching, the interplay of natural stuff and human-made stuff. Hello again. I hope you enjoyed that video, those thoughts on the photos and the stories a little bit behind them, and a little bit of my process and lessons learned. I find it really helpful to do this occasionally, to pause and reflect on some photos with a little bit of distance from when they were originally created and look at them with some at least semi-fresh eyes. So I hope you enjoyed this process, at least as I shared it, and I hope you do it as well. So a question for you would be, is this something you'd like to see on this channel? I'm thinking about doing it about 4 times a year, once a quarter. So let me know your thoughts. Please leave that in the comments below. If you have any questions about any of these photos, I'd be glad to answer them, or thoughts on the process or things like that. Yeah, so glad to have that conversation as always. Theoretically, next week I'll be back to doing some street photography. I might even have a special guest for that. So look forward to that and seeing you in that video. So until we meet again, I hope you stay safe, stay well, and have fun creating photos. Bye for now.